Hello and welcome to another edition of Bergen Stages, our entertainment magazine here at Bergen Community College. I'm Jim Bumgardner, your host, and today we have a kind of special edition. Normally we talk about behind the scenes that are going on of our plays here on campus, but today we're going to look off campus and we're going to talk about something that our students do during the summer times, and that's something called summer stock. And I have two great guests with me, two of my favorite actors from here at Bergen, and they're Alexander Rivera and Simone Serra. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Yeah. We have worked together here at Bergen Community College, but we've also been up in Cortland Repertory Theater, which is one of the summer stock theater companies. So before we get into talking about your summer stock experience, tell us a little bit about yourself. Simone, you were here at Bergen. You majored in theater.
Yep, I got my associates in fine and performing arts. So I started, I believe, when did I graduate? 2004 is when I graduated high school, so I came here then, and I left by 2007, the spring of 2007. The classes that I did, all of my general education classes for the degree, but then of course I wanted to pursue acting, so of course I started taking then a lot of my theater credits, like, let's see, directing. I did Acting 1. We had done TPW, which was a theater workshop production. So it was basically building a show from the ground up with all the students creating a show and working as a collaborative effort. It was a great experience.
Great. And then you left Bergen and you went on to Montclair.
I did, and then I went on to Montclair and I got my bachelor's in theater studies in Montclair. So with my associates, I was able, because I had taken all of my general education classes here, by the time I had transferred to Montclair, all I took was theater classes for the last 2 years. Yeah, it was
just
wonderful.
Immerse yourself in the thing you love
All
the most,
I did for my last 2 years
great.
of college were my major and what I wanted to do, so it was wonderful. It was great that Bergen was my jump start for that.
And Alexander's kind of following what you're doing. He's still here at Bergen, finishing up here,
Correct.
and it's been great. You've been doing, which kind of courses have you been taking?
I too have taken the TPW course, the Theater Production Workshop, stage movement. I've taken stage makeup. I have,
Audition technique.
Ballet, a bunch of different courses.
Great, great. So finishing up like Simone Gen Ed courses so that you can go off and continue doing whatever you want to do. Explore other endeavors too. And we don't just do in the classroom stuff here at Bergen. You get to be involved in plays. And it's so great to have you two here because we were in cabaret together. We worked on cabaret together.
Many moons ago.
Well, many moons ago. Don't say that. No,
I know.
Just yesterday. Just yesterday. But Simone, what shows, if you can pull off the top of your head, I'm asking you your resume already. What shows did you do here while at Bergen?
Let's see. So I did Crimes of the Heart was my first show ever here by Beth Henley.
Right.
Yes, that was with director Tom O'Neill. He's also a teacher as well for stagecraft and lighting, so he's a wonderful teacher too. Let's see, we did The Elephant Man, Summer and Smoke with Tennessee Williams. We Kinder Transport, which was one I worked with you, which is one of my favorites. Our first together, Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, so it's some musicals in there too, and then Cabaret also. Yeah.
Awesome.
Such great shows. I love them. They were all so much fun.
And we did get to explore Beckett.
Yes, we did. And then it was in the
the
Black Box Theater, which is Ender Hall, and one of my favorite theaters. It's such an intimate space, and I think that that's also a great thing for the students that come in here that aren't really so familiar with theater to come in and to see, come in and
explore both of our theaters, the different types of theater. Yeah. And Alex, what shows have you done here at Bergen?
First show was Kiss Me Kate.
That's right.
That was a couple years ago, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. Right after that was Cabaret, and then I just recently did The Heiress.
Right. And you did Almost Maine?
Yes, Almost Maine, which was our TPW production.
Right, our TPW production of Almost Maine. Great. So you're like I said, you know that most things have to happen in the classroom and outside of the classroom as a theater major. You can't just be in the classroom learning.
Right.
It's got to be explored.
You got to go out there and
audition and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about the two spaces that we have here. What did you find the difference, and I'm going to compare that to summer stock in just a minute, between the two spaces, between doing?
Well, my introduction to Bergen Theater was on the big Anna Maria Saccone Theater, the proscenium theater that we have. And there it's like being in outer space. It's kind of cool. It's huge, and it's just larger than life, as opposed to when we did Almost Maine or The Heiress and the Black Box, where, like you said, everything's very intimate. And so changing between spaces is fun because you get to learn how to project and you get to learn how to present your body on stage for a large audience. And then you have to try to learn how to minimize things and be very minimal and subtle when it comes to being in a black box.
So you understand how to use these tools that in the classroom you're talking about and exploring, but this is a perfect example of how to to know when to project louder and,
Right.
and then to pull back because of the And which space did you like the most while you were here?
Well, my first time with Crimes of the Heart was in the Black Box Theater. So that was my first time that I was actually performing in a Black Box Theater. So it was a completely different experience as opposed to performing like on proscenium stages. And so it was just a whole different atmosphere. And it was one of those, it was scarier almost because when everybody is so close and so watching you, but it's a whole different acting experience for the actor as well, which is one of my favorites, you know, because that's all about what acting is making an experience for everyone who's watching you. And so, you know, I love performing in Black Box theaters, but of course there's nothing, you know, to that compares on performing, you know, like the one in the Sicconi. The Sicconi is just a beautiful stage.
Yeah, it's funny because the audience isn't big, but the stage is, and so you learn, you know, it's a Broadway-sized theater stage.
With
so
fly
it's just
space.
Like understanding how to, once you're on Broadway, that you'll already say, yes, I've had this experience, I know how to relate to it already. So that's great. So let's get outside of our metaphorically ivy-covered walls here. Alex, other than the summer stock, you've done some outside theater here in the
Around
county.
the area?
Yeah, in the area.
Yeah, I performed.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to high school in Teaneck High School.
Right.
Right after I graduated, I did a small play with the community theater of Tenafly, and that was The White Sheep of the Family, which is like an English comedy set in the 1950s. Right after that was when I explored some musical community theater in Hackensack. I did Rent. I've also performed with Old Library Theater, also over in Fairlawn. We did Jesus Christ Superstar.
Right.
So yeah, a couple of places around here.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And Simone, what else have you, I know that you took something from Montclair and then you went out with it.
I did.
And performed it, and that was Suburbia.
Suburbia, yeah. It was one of my first shows that I had performed in Montclair. Afterwards, we had the assistant director that had worked on in the show in school decided that he wanted to take it then outside and put its own twist on it. So again, in performing in kind of unconventional places. So we had performed the show that we had performed in school, but we took it to Jersey City and then we performed it in a warehouse, which was really, really fun. And I mean, again,
and it fits for that show.
And it fit totally for the show. So it was wonderful. And it was working with, you know, my peers, was working then like with the same people from the show, but then again, like kind of putting our own perspective on it. So that's all what theater's about too.
And it was all yours. It's kind of like what we talk about our TPW class, that trains you to become a company and then to do all the work to make it happen. And this is exactly what happened with this group. You created your own company and took a show that you had already worked on and just brought it out on your own, separate from the school.
Yeah,
and I think that's cool.
It is, and they're still a thriving theater group too. You know, they perform all around the New Jersey area. They are now like branching out also into the city as well. They have their own writer and director. They have their group of actors that they go with. So I mean, but that was the first show that they kind of pioneered, and because they were in the show with me at school, you know, we were all in the same class, so I was able to do it. So every once in a while, we still audition for each other, and we still like to perform. It's wonderful. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, where did you go to high school?
I went to Kearney High.
And did you do theater at Kearney High?
I did. I did a couple of years of shows in Kearney High, but I was primarily a dancer first, so I had all my years of dance, and I was in dance school, so that was where my focus was at first. And then it wasn't until my last 2 years of high school that I started performing in shows, and then that was when, you know.
Well, it's great that they had those to do, and I know Alex did as well.
In high school?
Yeah.
I was in Bye Bye Birdie my senior year in high school.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. Who did you play?
Rosie.
Really?
Yeah.
That was Conrad.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's reprise it.
That's right.
Before we get too old.
Why not?
That's fun. So let's get into now talking a little bit about what happens in summertime. And now our audience may have heard about something called summer stock, and that's a little different than a theater doing shows in the summer. It just means we're going to do this one play all summer long, or in the Carolinas, I know we have outdoor dramas, which are one show that perform in the summer months because it's nicer weather, and so they can do these outdoor shows. And so those exist. We also have themed amusement parks that open up in the summertime, and you're probably going to be hired as maybe the entertainers, the Hoop-de-Doo Review or whatever it is in this themed park. That seems to have been lumped into summer stock term, but we know it's summer because of the season, but stock is something special, and you two experienced it. And stock is using the same actors, a lot of times using the same scenery, just painting it differently. And it started, just to give a little bit of history, and I know you guys have probably studied this before, but it started in the 1920s and 1930s, and probably the very first one was Muni out in St. Louis. There were 4 major summer stock theaters, which basically hired young actors to come in, to fill in, maybe even take classes, to learn more, and then also work with some big names from Broadway or film would come in and do the leading roles. And so you would get to work with these people, but you'd also do all the behind-the-scenes work as well. So summer stock has blossomed. We normally think of it in the New England area. We think of it Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, upstate New York, but it has blossomed around the country too.
Yeah.
So it's become something, but it's something special that you guys did. Now, we all worked in the same company, which is kind of, I don't mean to just push Cortland Repertory Theater, but we did work there separate summers. But you both had different experiences working at Cortland Rep. Alex was just there last summer, and it was about 3 summers?
2006 was
2006
my summer.
too. Wow,
Yeah,
just
I
flew
know.
by. Where'd it
Flew
go?
by, I know.
How did you get this job in summer stock?
Well, I was reading backstage, and through some other information, I found out that they had their audition in the city, and so, all right, cool. Like, I'll send you my headshot resume. I'll put a cover letter in it and ask for an audition. So I sent it to our artistic director, Kirby Thompson, and I got an audition in March, and I auditioned, went, and there was singing was day 1, and then came back the next day and you danced, and you did the dance call.
You danced, yeah.
Yeah, and so then it was just waiting, and a couple months later, down the road in May, got a phone call, and it was, I'll see you in June in Cortland.
So let me backtrack just a little bit, because you said picture and resume, and I know our audiences aren't all theater people. What do we mean by picture and resume? What is that?
That is your card, your business card. It's your resume, has all of your previous work on it. Also have a nice little headshot of yourself, a little 8x10.
So it's a good picture of yourself to send in.
Nice profile picture of yourself. Hopefully one that looks very
good.
appealing.
As close to you as possible.
Yeah,
Because it is your calling card. You want them to look at it and go, yeah, I want to have this person.
And then it has
audition.
all your experience on the other side. And so I sent that in the mail to Cortland and requested an audition and got one and auditioned.
Great.
Yeah.
And Simone?
Well, my experience was a little bit different. It was right before I was still here at Bergen taking classes, and Jim, who was my teacher you were my teacher at the time, you had said to me, how come you haven't auditioned for summer stock yet? And I said, well, I think I was going to take some summer classes this summer, but then you had encouraged me to just at least go on for the audition, and that's what I did. It was the same thing. I had brought in my headshot and resume, and I had my 16 bars and read the sides, and that's how it worked. So
You read the sides.
sides, no.
Just explain it.
I'm sorry. When you go into an audition, they have a little section of the script that then they want you to read for. So it's already provided for you. So they give you a few minutes that then you can go ahead, you can look over, you could read it over with someone if they partner you up with anyone, and then of course you go in and you read those few lines to the best of your ability. Yeah.
So you auditioned, you got cast. This was in March, and you finally got there. You went late May, if I remember, and you got there
Early June.
Yeah, early June to start. Most summer stock seasons are from June to from Memorial Day to Labor Day. Really kind of sit in there. Some are shorter, some are a little bit longer, but. You two had 2 completely different experiences, and that's what I want to get to after the break. But just so, if you had to sell it, what would you tell to people, young actors out there, about summer stock? Should they do it, and why?
Oh yeah. I mean, aside from the fact that you get a load of experience working with other established actors or up-and-coming actors, in the area, it's just exhilarating. It's a thrill. It's not easy. It's difficult, and so having to work that hard is definitely rewarding.
And Simone?
Yes, I'd have to agree with Alex. The same thing. It's it's about also the people that you meet. And, of course, then once summer stock is over, and if you wanted to continue to pursue, it's really wonderful to be able to know that the people that you worked with and to network, and you hold on to those experiences and you keep in contact. That's how you continue to work.
Great people to have around you. So this gets us all set up for after the break to talk about the nitty-gritties of what you guys did during the summer to share with our audience. So come back. We're just going to take a short break, and then we're going to talk about these 2 people performing in summer stock and what they actually had to do all summer long. We'll be right back.
may not know what to say, but we can help start the conversation. Learn more at supportyourvet.org.
Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed today. Learn how at ready.gov.
Thank you for giving me blood.
Thank you for giving me shelter.
Thank you for saving my life.
Support the Red Cross and change a life, starting with your own.
Any questions?
What kind of service plan does this come with?
Unlimited.
Can I keep my same phone number? Does it have a camera? What's the warranty? Can I put my party shuffle on this?
Any questions?
No.
For the 10 questions everyone should know, go to ahrq.gov.
The odds of this daughter of a clergyman spending 11 weeks at #1 on the U.S. singles charts? 1 in 19 million. The odds of going on to win 6 Grammy Awards? 1 in 1.4 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 150. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn the signs of autism at autismspeaks.org.
Hi, welcome back to Bergen Stages. Today we have a special edition talking about summer stock. And as I had pointed out before the break, summer stock is something special. It happens only in summertime, and it's stock, meaning we use stock actors, we use stock scenery, and we do probably 5 to sometimes 10 shows in the summertime. So this is a special edition because we're talking to Alexander Rivera and Simone Serra, who both were actors in summer stock, but they came at it from 2 different angles. And that's where I want to get now, because Alexander, you were hired as an actor to perform in a couple of shows. And Simone, you were hired as an intern.
Yes.
Let's start with you. What do you mean by an intern? What does an acting intern mean?
Well, an intern has the opportunity to still perform in the shows in summer stock. However, when you're not performing in those shows, then it's almost basically apprentice work almost. You're really and contributing to all the aspects of the theater and all the aspects that contributed into making the shows that then we perform. So when I wasn't performing in a show or when I wasn't rehearsing, then the times when they were rehearsing a show, then I was helping for 2 weeks build the set and paint the flats and to bringing it all in, then to
loading it into the theater. So you got there in May, and if I remember right, you weren't in the first show, but you also had to do something other than build sets. You guys had to be in the children's show.
We did.
So you went right into rehearsal for the children's show.
Yeah, the children's show, which was really
which one
exciting.
You did.
James and the Giant Peach.
James and the
So wonderful.
That's right.
So much
so
fun.
You went into rehearsals for that. You rehearsed that in the morning.
Yes.
And then in the afternoon.
And in the afternoon, then we went to work. So
to build sets and all that. And did you have a lot of experience in building sets?
No, I never. Here at Bergen, I had taken stagecraft and lighting, and of course, me being an actor, said, "Oh, okay, 4 scores." Oh, sure, I know those in, but then, the actual
the practical use of
it now, yeah, exactly, yes.
And then you rotated in the shop, and I know Alex, you saw these guys have to do it.
Yeah, running around.
But fortunately, as the actor hired, you didn't have to be the apprentice.
Right. I mean, we were responsible for deconstruction of the set after shows and stuff like that.
Right, striking the set, right.
No hours in the costume shop, no children's show, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun that you got to, but and we'll get to that in a second because you had your challenges of rehearsing all day and then doing the show at night. So you were rotated in the shop, right? Which means there were 6 of you.
Yes.
And what did you have to do? What were specifically, what kind of duties did you have to do? So we know you had to build the scenery, paint the scenery. What else? What other duties?
There were also, as far as the measuring of the flats, I'm trying to remember.
I know,
it's been so long, yeah. As far as rotating with things in the shop, with the building of the set, there was the painting, there was the measurements, but then we also did, in our shop, we also had the costuming
Right, so that's what I meant, you rotated into the costume shop,
yeah.
and so you would help. Had you ever sewn before?
Never sewn before, got to learn how to sew.
That's great.
I had to learn, and also a lot of organizing as well. I would say that time in particular, with then so many hands to help, we were able to help organize this, the costumes. We were also in the wood area, laundry as well. Yes, and then there was also, we rotated them as far as props. So we had to help find props. We had to organize the prop room. We had to do a lot of work. It was a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And then somewhere in there you squeezed rehearsing for a show and performing the show.
So yeah, exactly. We probably, and for the children's show, we would have to be at rehearsal at 8 a.m. And then, of course, we would rehearse probably until about noon. And then we would go get lunch. And then by 1 o'clock to 5 or so, we would be in the shop and we would be doing our duties.
Until you got into rehearsals.
And then
you got into rehearsals and you did 2 other shows. You did James's Giant Peach.
Yes, and I had done Murder on the Nile and then Annie Get Your Gun.
Annie Get Your Gun,
yeah,
right.
So, yeah.
And were those back to back?
Annie Get You, Murder on the Nile, it was Murder on the Nile and performed that for 2 weeks. And then I don't
something
believe that it was. It was something in between.
So you didn't.
So I went back into the shop again.
Into the shop.
I love that shop.
but it just and the interns are the backbone of the theater.
They
could
are.
not. We do crew hours here on campus, and actors will roll their eyes going, or students will roll their eyes at the crew hours. But it's the same kind of thing. We couldn't do as well of what we do if we didn't have these crew hours being done, and that's what the apprentices do.
Yeah, but it was really, but that's the great thing about it, though. I mean, as challenging as it was, it really did help also to show, even as an actor, you know what I mean? Because it helps that there's so much more than just to the performing aspect of it.
Right,
there's so much else that goes behind,
it so
and I
much more.
appreciate it, and I appreciate the work that everybody else does for that, and the talent that they have for doing that, because I couldn't do it, and I didn't know how to do it until I was taught. And I mean, there's so much more that goes into a show than just the rehearsals and just the acting and just,
And you appreciate the props when they arrive, or you appreciate the scenery as it starts loading in,
you
and you see it.
You have a whole newfound respect for, your crafting.
And that's important.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's really important.
It is.
It's a great perspective to have. So you did your shows. Now Alex came in at a different. So the interns are already working in the shop and doing that by the time you arrived.
By the time I got there, it was probably 4 weeks into the summer already, and so the interns were there, and the cast of the first show was already there, and so I moved in. We had our meeting, our cast meeting, the night after we moved in, and it was right to work.
We didn't even talk about that.
Oh my goodness, that's right.
So where did you live?
You
lived in 2 different places, actually.
Yes.
It's changed since.
Yeah, we lived. SUNY Cortland is up there near Cortland, near the theater, and so their off-campus housing was our housing for the summer. And we moved. It was nice apartments. I think it was the first time that Cortland has housed actors there.
In that particular part, where you normally use these.
It's like a sorority house. The one that I lived in was
which were great.
Huge
houses.
Huge. It was at least like 3 stories, but every single floor probably had at least 5, 6 rooms in them. They were huge, but they were so much fun.
But it's house. So I know you don't make tons of money.
No.
Unfortunately.
But you know what, though? That's kind of.
But that keeps the ticket prices down for the audiences for summer stock, but the experience, and you get free housing.
Free housing.
I know where I worked up at the Weather Vane up in New Hampshire, we also got fed too. So because we were so way out in the middle of nowhere that they had a cook on staff that they fed all 3 of our meals.
Wow.
But then again, it's also, stocks, especially certain stocks, Cortland is in upstate New York, and it's this quaint kind of area where even so much that you don't really have to be spending a lot of money. I mean, they're in these beautiful towns that, that then, of course, like as a cast and as the whole crew together, then you start to bond with each other, and then you start to cook food together. You know what I mean? So it's not like you even have to spend so much money, but it's nice to make money.
Or it becomes communal.
Exactly.
I mean, you share. I remember you guys all going blueberry picking and coming
Yes.
back with these.
We found this really cool blueberry field, and so there was family that owned it.
But we'll get into we'll get a little bit more into social in just a second. So Alex, you got there, you had your company meeting, you moved into the house, and you did 2 shows.
Yes, I did 2
And you were hired
musicals.
just as an actor to come in, actor, singer, dancer.
Yeah, strictly for the musicals. And so the first show of the season was Chicago.
And congratulations, it just won a SALT award.
Thank you very much.
Syracuse Area Award. So
proud to be a part of it. But Chicago started rehearsals, and so it was every day for 2 weeks, or almost every day, 6 days a week for 2 weeks. And right after that, we went up, and the show started. There was a week run of the show, and then second week of that run of the show was first day of rehearsal for a second musical.
And that was?
That was Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Great. So that means now you got all settled into doing your performances in Chicago. Had a
you
little
just get
leisure
used to
time,
one show.
get used to the one show, and not rehearsing all day. And then come that next Tuesday, you were suddenly thrown into rehearsing all day dancing.
Yeah.
And then doing
It was
the show
more
at
like
night.
it was like a 9 o'clock start or 10 o'clock start, and then you would go until 1 or 2 in the afternoon. We'd break for lunch, and then the rest of the Joseph cast, who was specifically cast just for the show, would stay and they would rehearse while the Chicago people had to go do a show.
So, and that's part of the repertory, which you both have experienced, is the fact that you rehearse all day, do the show at night, or work all day, do the show at night.
Yeah, that's one of the things with summer stock is that when people don't realize is that, I mean, we have 2 weeks to rehearse to put on an
Just
entire
2 weeks.
show.
The leisure of doing it in college when you've got
Exactly.
5 to 6 to 7 weeks to put
Exactly.
something
Yeah.
on, something in 2 weeks.
2
what
weeks.
you can do. It's
So-
amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's really wonderful.
So it's changed you as an actor. Has it changed you
The
doing summer stock?
learning curve, yeah. I mean, I would
uh-huh.
say that, not that I could read something and I automatically know it or memorize it or know the context behind it, but it's a lot easier now. I know what to look for if I'm reading a script, or if I'm going through my music, I know what I need to learn in order to, I know the basics. All right, I have to get this down first, and then I have to make sure that all my lines are memorized by this date, so that way come this time I could at least have a general skeleton of the show in my head and in my body, and then I can go about rehearsing and then perfect it from there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it helps.
It changed you too?
Yeah,
to
well,
do
I mean,
this?
it helps you also prepare then for working professionally, is that you have to be on your feet.
And this was professional. I mean,
It is. It
I
is
mean,
professional.
It's
Exactly,
not,
yeah.
It's not equity. It's not Union Broadway
Right,
theater, but
yeah.
it is.
But it is. It's on a professional level. So going out there, of course, then knowing what to expect, or having knowing what others' expectations are of you when you're going to do other work and to do other shows, is that you have to be on time. You have to know your lines. You have to know
Professionalism.
So,
Yeah, that was another thing.
Which is very
You're living away
important.
from home. You're having to do food for yourself or with
Yep.
your community. Get to rehearsal
On time.
on time.
On time.
Early is on time.
Right? Early is
10 minutes before is
on
this is what
time.
Jim says. 10 minutes before is on time
Is
is
late.
late, and 10 minutes late is unacceptable.
Right.
Yeah. And so now you've got some great memories.
Oh,
From
yes.
doing the summer stock. And I know that we've talked during the break of friends that are doing something. One of yours is off to...
Yeah, a good friend of mine who I worked with, both in Chicago and in Joseph, is part of Streb, which is like a gymnastics dance company in the city, and they'll be performing in London for the opening ceremonies of the Olympics this summer.
Olympics, amazing.
Yeah.
And we keep it, and it's great with Facebook too. We can keep up with who's
Yeah.
doing what and who's gone where.
Exactly.
Danny's off and doing his
He toured
tour.
filler
Yeah.
throughout the country.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
did filler on the
which
roof.
is great, but we keep in touch with each other. And you have a couple of
Yeah,
yours that you've kept
a
up
few
with
of
in
my
these
friends.
years.
Yeah, one of them actually has made his Broadway debut in the Book of Mormon, which is huge,
Huge.
Right.
huge.
Huge, yeah.
And a friend of mine actually that was an intern along with me. She was my roommate also. Now she's performing on Oceania Cruise Lines, and she is literally performing on a cruise line that started in Italy and has gone through Jordan and
Oh,
all around to the
wow.
Western Hemisphere.
Sweet.
So she is, for a whole
nice.
year, she's been on this cruise. So an amazing
Wow.
singer. So she's coming back home actually this week.
So these memories you're
work.
going to keep with you?
Of
Or do you think
course.
it's going to slowly fade away into the...
No,
the
I can never
abyss?
forget it. It was my first experience, and I mean, it was my first professional experience also. So it was my springboard.
Yeah, aside from the first professional experience, it was also one of my first experiences away from home. You
Yeah,
know?
me
Coming
too.
to Bergen, it's a community
Right,
college.
right.
To, like,
So you don't get that dorm life. So
Exactly.
suddenly you get thrust into this huge responsibility as yourself.
Yeah.
being an adult.
Yeah,
Me
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you'll make some friends, and I know just personally, I think did my first summer stock in 1972, and I remembered the songs still.
Yeah.
I remember some of the choreography.
Yeah.
It's just the things
Yeah.
that just stick with you. You go, why do I remember this? I don't know, but I think it's that important. So if you had a word or two to say to any young actor watching this, what would you say of encouragement of going to summer stock?
Of encouragement, I mean, go for it. I mean, audition for it. If theater is what you want to do or what you think you would like to do, audition. It doesn't hurt. It never hurts to audition. But just know that it's a lot of work, but it's rewarding.
Good.
Absolutely. It's the most rewarding experience, especially if it's something that you know that you want to do. It's definitely it's a step in the right direction as far as getting yourself out to audition and to be ready to work in the professional theater world. You're going in the
way
right
to do it.
direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, this has been so short, but thank you so much for being a part of the show today.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
thank
know
you for
that we
having us.
audition locally. There are also opportunities for actors to audition at the NETC auditions up in Natick, Massachusetts. We also have the Straw Hats audition in New York, which gets actors up in front of a lot of theaters all at one time for auditioning. So hopefully you at home who are watching this can encourage your young actors to say, yeah, summer stock is a great experience, but it's also support support your local summer stock theaters. Go and see some good theater this summer and tell us all about it. Thank you. Thanks for watching.